The Institute of World Affairs at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee presents International Focus, a weekly discussion of the people and events behind today's global headlines. Support provided by Milwaukee Public Television and the UWM Center for International Education. Now here's your host, Doug Savage.
Welcome to International Focus. Coverage of the ongoing crisis in Syria is often framed in terms of geopolitics, how the war impacts and is impacted by various regional actors. As our U.S. political discourse moves into presidential election mode, the war-ravaged nation is often reduced to a talking point used to demonstrate candidates' foreign policy expertise. What's often missing from the discussion is a sense of the devastation the war has brought upon the people of Syria. Our guests today are intimately familiar with the human cost of the crisis. They fled Damascus and are rebuilding their lives as refugees in the U.S. Fadia Afashe is a painter and activist. Her plans to establish a women's rights advocacy organization in Syria were put on hold by the war. Jay Abdo left his position as one of the most prominent figures in Middle Eastern television and film to join his wife as a refugee. Fadia, Jay, welcome to Wisconsin and to International Focus.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Well, I'm wondering if you could give us some sense of the years immediately preceding the current crisis. I mean, what were your lives like?
Well, before 2011, March, we're living a nice life. We had everything we needed. I used to be a busy actor since '92, and Fadia was working as in the Ministry of Culture and as a painter as well. So we had this wonderful life, and we had great friends, nice people to deal with, and always creative. And I can say we had everything we needed till a point, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I think our life was like just an image, which is you allowed to have kind of normal life, but you never touch base or talk about politics, because this is the taboo where the dictator and dictatorship is preventing all the citizens, including artists, everyone, to talk about it. So we were not allowed to complain, critique, or even ask questions about why our situation is like this, why all the decisions taken by one person, why we don't have the freedom to choose our government, why we are not part of the process at all.
So you're living reasonably comfortable lives in Damascus. The situation in Tunisia occurs where the regime falls. What did that look like from where you were at the time?
We were thinking, is it coming to Syria? And if it comes to Syria, how long it will take till we change, we'll have the change of the regime, and we have a democracy, and we start building a whole new concept of a new country and wonderful regime, wonderful democracy. So it started in March. And we were thinking of 1 month, 2, maybe 3, maybe 5 months, but things got from bad to worse, and what we expected didn't come.
And so, Fadia, tell us a little bit about at what point you left the country, but not because of the conflict, right? You just had other plans.
That's true. Actually, I am one of the people never dare to think of or dream about revolution. I never, even I was working in women's issues, but I never even thought about it because it was out of my limit. It was something like speaking about something out of space. And when the revolution started in Tunisia, I said, really, this is happening? I wonder if that could happen in Syria, because I know we are ruled by an iron fist. It's impossible. We have a very strict and powerful security, the army protecting the dictator, no way to have a revolution. And for that, like, I was surprised, like many other people actually, I think, with the revolution started, I was like building my life, doing everything according to the situation, according to the space I already have. I applied for many scholarships, dreaming to study in Britain or the US in order to pursue my dream about my own nonprofit. And suddenly the revolution started with the children, because children, they don't know the fear that we know. They don't know the information that we know about our regime. But it was moral thing. Would you just leave civilians in front of the face of the monster, the dictatorship, or you just support them? It was a moral choice. And when I came here, I was full of hope that the revolution will succeed.
So just for people who aren't familiar with the story, you came here to study.
Yes, I came to study. I got scholarship in the right time. After the revolution, after 4 months, 5 months of the revolution, I get accepted for the scholarship I applied long time ago. And I was thinking, this is the right time. I will come, I will finish my studying here in the US for 1 year. It's perfect opportunity for myself.
And you'll come back to a new Syria.
Exactly, and I was telling my friend, my father, my mother, I'm coming back. Everything will pursue, or our dreams will have a new country, or our dreams will come true.
So Jay, Fadia is in the States studying, and what are you doing at this point?
I was still filming in 2 TV shows and film for TV. So I still was busy at that time, and Fadia, when she came here, she said, why don't you come to visit? I said, I'm busy, I can't come for the moment. I think you finish and you come back maybe. And at that time they started to ask all public figures to support the regime, the army, the arrestings, in the media. So some of our friends did, and some others did not. And those people who didn't support this demand, they ended up either detained or they had to flee or being shot somewhere. So it was smart for me to leave at that time. So I finished somehow my duties to filmings, and I fled. I came here, and I said maybe in 2-3 months, 5 months, everything will be finished. And this is what it didn't go that way.
So at that point, for both of you, it was taking longer than you thought, but were you still optimistic that there would be a Tunisia-like finish to the story?
We were hoping. I kept the hope until, I still have tiny hope, to be honest with you. I'm still living with this hope that things will get better. But day by day, my dreams and my hope is just dims. I don't know. I was having hope that maybe it's complicated, maybe it's getting really violent, but we still have hope we'll go back home. Even when we decided, me and Jay, to have plan B, because my visa expired as a student, I finished my study, so we have no other option, either go to Syria, which is impossible, or just have plan B and stay here. And day by day we discover that this will be probably our home.
And what was that process like? I mean, when you made that decision of, it looks like we're going to be here for quite some time, what happens next?
I mean, we had those papers. We were, legal residents, and we started to look for a job, which was the hardest thing I've ever thought of. I didn't do anything but acting in my life. I knew languages. I speak 5 languages. And I started applying everywhere, but it was extremely difficult to to get a job. And in the same time, I was trying to get into the entertainment business as an actor. And so many actors come from all over the world to Los Angeles. But I kept trying through the websites, the actors' websites, applying here and there, headshots, demo reels, skills, all these experiences I got. And in 1 year, I managed to be in 4 short movies, in 1 feature, no payments, no budgets. They were ultra low budgets. And but something I did in 1 year. But after that, I was so lucky to meet somebody who introduced my work to a great director, Werner Herzog. And at that time, Werner Herzog was casting for his upcoming movie, Queen of the Desert, and he cast me in a major role opposite Nicole Kidman. And that was my biggest, huge break that made the shift in my life, and I think it put me on the map.
And
in my case, I was not lucky enough. They didn't give me my papers. They give him work permit after a while, but they didn't in my case. And I was like you, in Los Angeles, it's not easy to go to the immigration, ask for your papers. That took me about 1 year to get even an ID or driver license. For 1 year, I felt I am stateless. I am not exist. I cannot do anything. And I have to survive. You have to pay the bills. You have a family back home. They need for money, for medication. I used back home to be able to provide some help for my family. In my case now, I need the help. It was very super hard. Imagine yourself you are forced to leave without anything, without enough money. You don't know any person in this country. You need to figure out the system, which is for Americans, they know the system, but for us, we are totally new. We need to know the smallest details to figure out how to live on a daily basis. It was super hard task, and now we feel much comfortable now after we have the work permit, I have the ID, I start to look for a job. In his case, the same.
Well, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, I'd like to talk a little bit about the situation now. I mean, what are you hearing from friends and family back home? But first, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
The Institute of World Affairs presents our community with a range of public programs relating to global issues, U.S. foreign policy, and the world economy. For more information about the Institute of World Affairs, call 414-229-3220 or visit our website at www.iwa.uwm.edu.
Welcome back. We're talking with Fadia Afashe and Jay Abdo about the situation in Syria. So, you've made a very difficult transition, at least for the time being. You've kind of put yourself in a situation that seems like relatively stable. So now when you're looking back home, I mean, what are you hearing from people? What is the situation that you left?
It's unbelievable. I still can't process and believe what happened. The country is just not a country anymore. People kill each other. It's not stable. The violence in the highest level, and the frustrating part as a Syrian, I don't see that in the news. Everything you see in the news now is just about ISIS, the extremists. No one interested about the atrocity going in Syria, in Damascus, the capital. Every day there is a funeral, someone I know, relative or friend. Every day we have bad news about people get kidnapped, disappeared, or in prison. Every day we know that, do you know your neighbor? Do you remember the neighbor? Do you remember his son, his daughter? They get killed. Or they get they died in the sea. They were trying to immigrate to Europe. and they died. It's heartbreaking. I still can't believe, because those people I know, I grew up with, and I know their faces, and I know they have been through a lot of things in daily basis. I don't know for what, why all this violence is happening, and how civilians' lives is just so cheap like this. It's not life. Even Damascus, the capital, electricity, they cut the electricity all the day. They don't have the medication for the elderly, for the kids, even food. Some homeless family in the street asking just for food to survive from day to day. So the numbers is just shocking coming from Syria.
And what is your sense of the understanding of the people around you in this country?
I need people to know more about the situation in Syria on the ground, and I need people to know, and everyone to know, about the situation of the refugee camps, people in refugee camps in either Jordan, Turkey, or Lebanon.
Well, could you give us some sense of just the scale? I mean, how many people are displaced, both internally in Syria and have fled and are in those situations?
I think displaced people are around 6 million, and 3.2 million refugee in refugee camps, and they are spread now all over Europe, and Europe, like Germany, Italy, France, and Sweden. Well, countries who opened like programs for receiving, adopting all these refugees who still alive. I mean, we witness so many still fights in Syria. Still, people coming from all over the places to fight against each other, and the situation is not good. And it's not stopping, it's not ending, not going to an end. And we still have hope. I know that, but it's going to worse. It's always going to worse. There's no talks. Nobody wants to listen to anybody, and the situation is deteriorating each day.
The heartbreaking things, like, as I told, when you know someone that we went to. They honored Jay in a Swedish film festival. We went there. I didn't expect to see Syrian there. So they know he's there. A lot of people came to see him. We saw our photographer, and we were, oh, I can't believe it. What are you doing here? And he told me, I came with my family through the sea, and my wife get killed. So I just can't believe, like, when you know these people, and you know the hardship daily they are facing just to find a place to feel safe and to feed their children.
And do you get any sense of the people around you understanding the scale of what's going on?
The problem that how people would know, I meet a lot of people every day. I try to open conversation and tell them, hi, I'm from Syria, and I want really to tell them that something happening there. They don't have, some of them, they don't have clue about what's happening in Syria, because the news doesn't cover what's happening in Syria. You know, always the news, they pick something attractive and they put in the news. At the end of the day, it's a kind of commercial. It's not the real thing. They don't really report on the ground what's happening. They are tired of it. For them, it's old news. It has been for 4 years now, war. But at the same time, we have 7,000 people dying a month in Syria. Those the documented people. It's just crazy, like people in the US so isolated, and they don't really have a sense what's happening in other places. I know Syria is far away, I understand, but at the end of the day, everything is connected. At the end of the day, we are not living alone. Every country in this world just connected to other. Any problem will affect definitely other countries. So I wish American people will know much better and will know more about what's happening there in Syria and other places.
And if they do know, what should they do?
Yeah, this is a good question. Can I answer?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, knowledge is very important, because when you know atrocity is happening, I think it's a human responsibility to act. And I think even now, with the situation much complicated in Syria, we still have to act, because as a human, it's our responsibility to end atrocity. I wish all the American people just please talk to their representative and tell them America, the US, is able to end this atrocity. It's the most powerful country in the world, can end atrocity in a small country like Syria. They have enough power to do so. I wish they will change the policy and take an action to end the war as soon as possible, in order to protect us from the dictators and protect us from the extremists. We used to face one monster, now we are facing two. We don't want to wait more and face the third one and the fourth. Our future is in danger, not just in Syria, in the whole area, in the Middle East, and who knows what will happen next.
We need to stop the killings. We need to get all people out of detention, almost 250,000 people in detentions. We need to get all the Syrian people back to their country. Because Lebanon, Turkey, Jordan are already exhausted. So this is the first step to stop the killings, get the people back, get out everyone from detention.
So let's take a step back and look at that wider picture. I mean, what sort of international politics do you think are playing out in this conflict right now?
Thank you for the question, because it's obviously a proxy war. It's not the Syrian war anymore. The ironic thing, when I read about the Syria, if there is an article, they write civil war. And that's psychologically make us think, oh, it's something interior, we don't want to really interfere. But in fact, it's not civil war. I don't see it that way. In Syria, the revolution started in Syria. Civilians went to the street, demand their universal human rights. Dictatorship action was very savage and severe. They were like torturing, killing civilians. Then the other country around the world take advantage from this. We know Russia, they have interest in Syria because of the gas we have in Syria, and it's very strategic in geographic way. Iran, they have interest because they want to control the area. China, they have the interest because they don't want dictatorship to disappear from this earth, because they have a dictatorship system in their country. So many interest in the area. All of this country, Russia, China, Iran, supported the regime. The US, on the other hand, they were promising to support the Syrian people, but they have done nothing. It's just empty promises. Nowadays, because of this new trendy extremist thing, a lot of countries, they have good interest. They send the money, they send the weapons, they are funding those extremists. And this is like a huge danger, because the Syrian regime is allowing and giving the space for extremists. I know it sounds complicated, and I say, oh my God, but every country is involved. But all the conflicts around the world, all the countries involved. It depends on the geographic area. So for that, we go to the basic rule that the powerful country nowadays, the US, can sit on this table with the powerful country like Russia and Iran and China and negotiate, hopefully, to stop this war and to save millions of civilians that are suffering every day.
So one of the comments you hear from American elected officials is, well, we'd like to support the opposition, but who should we support? We don't know who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. What advice would you have on that issue?
I think the good guys don't hide themselves. And I think they can reach to the good guys. And whenever you support those good, moderate, it's a good number of people who are really interested in ending the dictatorship and rebuilding Syria with a kind of democracy. And those moderate people are in danger also not by the regime, but also by the extremists. And they are attacked by the extremists and threatened by them. So we know those moderate people who defected from our Syrian army and formed what they so-called this Free Syrian Army are not extremists. Yes, they are not. They are moderate people. They want to survive. They want to save their country. They want their relatives to come back from the refugee camps.
I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at there. We're out of time. I hope that you have the opportunity to go back to a Syria that you dream of soon. To our viewers, we'll see you soon.
For information about the Institute of World Affairs and its many programs, or to become a member of the Institute, call 414-229-3220 or visit us at our website,